Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas podcast from still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joining me down there in Tequila, Georgia, my good friend, fellow University of North Georgia alumni, co-host of the Georgia Voice of College Football. It's Matt Green. Matt, good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, sir. It's good to be back with you. We got football this week, sir.
We do have football this week. I saw the S&P Plus projections come out for this weekend. As everyone wants to know, Stanford over Hawaii, over there in the opener. The numbers like the Cardinal pulling the upset over the Rainbow Warriors here in week 0, where all eyes will be, not on Kansas State and Iowa State over there in Ireland.
Well, they're not competing, right? I assume that's a late game.
It's not even that late. It's at 7 Eastern, which I don't love. Like Hawaii should not. So 3 o'clock local time in Hawaii. So,
okay.
Afternoon game for the Rainbow Warriors against the Cardinal. Andrew Luck's debut as GM of the Cardinals. The Cardinal.
Is he doing anything as the GM on Saturday?
I feel like he's going to be. That's a new thing. I mean, how many GMs are we going to see on the sidelines? Like, that's got to be part of this. Is Lombardi going to be on the sideline for Monday night for North Carolina? Are you going to see a lot of these GMs now? Chad Bowden at USC, is he going to be a sideline guy? Are we going to see a lot of them patrolling the sidelines? Are they in the box? Are they going to be shown in the box? Like, I wonder how this is going to work with them.
Yeah, that's interesting. We'll
Ron Rivera for Cal. Like, is he going to be?
Typically GMs aren't involved in the game though, right? So they're just probably just chilling. I don't know. I guess you could be like one of the GMs that likes to be visible or something, or you could just hang out in your box and watch the game. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. But we do have football this weekend. We got high school football here in East Tennessee and back in Georgia. And I'll be at a game here locally on Friday night. And as we're taping this Wednesday, we'll have some games on Thursday as they break it up Thursday, Friday, Saturday in the opener. Georgia started a week prior, the Corky Hill Classic. Did you see, by the way, how Brookwood lost to Houston County in the Corky Hill last weekend, Matt Green?
I did not. I saw the Georgia commit that took a kickback to the house for Houston County, but that's the only thing I know about it.
Well, Houston won. Houston won with like 5 seconds to go, but they had a crazy big time catch at the corner that it was kind of some controversy whether or not he was able to reel it in on that sideline catch. It was a bomb from the Bears, and then I think one play later, like they're running out of time, and they just have this awesome wheel route. I think it was the running back or tight end, wide open, streaks into the end zone with a couple seconds to spare, and Houston County getting it done in crunch time.
Wow!
Against the old rival, the Broncos, the old stomping grounds.
No love lost for the Broncos. No love
lost, sir. Houston County though, I think Hoco is their nickname, but yeah, they're a big time program these days.
Yeah, that's Jake Fromm. Who else has Georgia gotten from there? Trey Hill. I know the center at the time. Yeah, they produced a bunch of dudes.
I think their coach Edwards, Jeremy Edwards, he was on this program a couple years ago. Good dude, and they play a fun style. But yeah, there you go. Brookwood, new coach. Philip Jones, I think, is now an assistant at Jackson County. So we shall see what it looks like for the Broncos over the course of the season. But, man, it's just nice to have high school football and college football. NFL will be here before you know it as well. So just a lot of football back in our lives. And we get a little bit of an appetizer here with week 0. And we'll end today's show with our picks and covering prediction for Iowa State and Kansas State over there in Ireland. But before we get into our college football hot takes back and forth, along with our final CFP predictions, Matt Green, do you have any dog bites? And the dog bite is, if Georgia has a national, or not even a national champion, a Heisman winner this year, if someone wins the Heisman for Georgia, who is the best bet for that pick? Is it Nate Frazier? Is it Gunnar Stockton? Is it Zachariah Branch? Who is it if they do have a Heisman winner this season?
So it's an interesting question, because if you just asked getting Heisman votes before Stetson Bennett, it's almost like exclusively defensive players that get votes for the Heisman. Like if you go back, like Garrison Hurst was a finalist. That's like 1992, I believe. And then Stetson was a finalist in 2022. But like between those two, I think the only guys that finished top 10, like Champ Bailey one year, Jordan Davis another year, Roquan Smith finished top 10. I think Jarvis Jones finished like 7th or 8th in the Heisman one year. It's kind of crazy how it's really only been defensive players for Georgia. But I think, I'm not the highest on Gunnar Stockton. So obviously the easiest pick for our team and their Heisman winner is the quarterback. Georgia goes 12-0, 13-0, wins the SEC, and he's the quarterback on the best team in the country and wins the Heisman. Like we've seen that story before, and it wouldn't just be shocking. But it feels like if I'm being honest on just like talent wise, like Zachariah Branch kind of has that X factor, that like he's not only he's multifaceted, maybe he takes punts, kicks to the house, or he's just kind of dynamic, just scoring in multiple different ways. He kind of feels like the guy, they would maybe have the Heisman moments too, because he just makes exciting plays or something like a Reggie Bush or something like that. And not comparing him at all to that. But I probably would have to pick Zachariah Branch. And I don't even think Zachariah Branch is going to be like the leading receiver on Georgia necessarily, but it's just like in the like, if you did 100 simulations of Georgia's season, it's like, there's probably one where this guy takes a few kicks and punts to the house and maybe he is Georgia's leading receiver and impacts the run game as well. So I'd probably pick Zachariah Branch, but Nate Frazier would be a close second, because I've talked about Nate Frazier a bunch. Like I am also not picking Nate Frazier to be some sort of All-American this year, but this guy was the number 1 running back, number 2 running back in the country coming out of high school, was not an early enrollee and still was Georgia's leading rusher as a freshman. So if that guy, is in Georgia's weight training program for another year, knows the system a little better, it's not crazy to think that guy could take just a massive jump from year 1 to year 2.
Is it better for Georgia if Zachariah Branch or Nate Frazier is a Heisman finalist this year?
I mean, because of what it takes to be a Heisman finalist as a running back these days, I think it would have to be running back, because like you're talking like 2,000 yards he probably has to do, at least like 1,800, or at least he's got maybe 1,500 yards, but he's got 25, 30 touchdowns. Or like it feels like the bar is set so high for running backs. Like Ashton Jeanty had an all-time great season and still was a runner-up for the Heisman. But I mean, I don't even remember, and I could be just blanking, but it feels like it's been a few years since we even had a Heisman finalist at the running back position before Jeanty last year. Like I'm thinking like the year it was Stetson, it was 4 quarterbacks. When it was Bryce Young, I can't remember all the finalists off the top of my head right now, but it's like you just haven't seen that many running backs in recent years. Like Derrick Henry is the last running back to win it, if I'm not mistaken. That's what, 2016, 2015. What was Derrick Henry? Was Derrick Henry the year they won the championship? Was that his senior year?
That's a good question. I went back and looked at Bijan.
They won it in 15.
Bijan finished 9th in Heisman Trophy voting. Speaks to your point.
That's
where
probably
I thought
the best
Bijan
running back in
was
college
higher
football
than
that year, right?
Say it again.
That's probably the best running back in college football that year, right?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I was going back. I was like, I was curious where Bijan finished that year, and Bijan was 9th.
Yeah, so I feel like if Frazier was a Heisman finalist, then it's like Georgia has an elite run game, at the very least. And if Georgia has an elite run game this year with what I expect from the receivers, like I think Georgia's offense is just pretty much unstoppable. But Zachariah Branch also, like, this is why I've been kind of, I don't know, timid, kind of just, we got a transfer. He didn't have a great sophomore season. Like, let's not treat him like he's, Jeremiah Smith or something. You're not all 5 stars are equal, He still had a huge pedigree coming out of high school. So I've been trying to like temper my expectations when it comes to Zachariah Branch, but he's that guy. If he were to win the Heisman, he feels like he would just be like a cherry on top of Georgia's offense. So I feel like either way, if one of those guys wins the Heisman, then Georgia's offense is probably one of the best in America.
Yeah, but also I feel like if Zachariah Branch won the Heisman, Georgia had a really fun passing season. That means Gunner had a really good year too.
Yeah, I'm sure. I bet if he wins the Heisman, he would have like 600 yards rushing and like 1,200 yards receiving or something, and a couple punt and kick returns.
I was gonna say
or
he has to
something.
be electric on special teams too, I think.
Yeah, for sure. It would have to be like a feeling, you know. He doesn't, because it's just Georgia. It's like they're not going to put up the stats. Like they literally haven't had 1,000-yard receiver since 2002. Like that's still a thing. They've had the one thing I will say that's lost in that stat. They've had like 7 or 8 900-yard receivers, but like no one can get to that 1,000-yard threshold. But so if they were to have, if Branch were to do something like that, most likely he's not going to have Jeremiah Smith numbers. Like Jeremiah Smith is someone who could go for like 2,000 yards receiving or something, you know, or 1,800 yards receiving and 100 and something catches. Georgia just never has that one guy that's fed the rock. So it would have to be like a feeling, like he's got the Heisman moments and things like that. And maybe he had a big punt return in the cocktail party or something, or in the Alabama game or something like that. That's kind of more memorable plays, and scoring a lot of touchdowns is always a way to get up there in the Heisman. But yeah, I'm not predicting it, but if it were to happen, I feel like it'd have to be one of those two guys.
It's a good call. I tend to agree, and I'd probably say Zachariah Branch has the highest potential because I think Georgia's going to rotate at running back still, and I just think it's gonna be it. That's part of the era that we're in. It's just there's so much rotation that it's just hard to have, like, the Ashton G&Ts are just a rarity in this sport, and it's just kind of, I mean, even Dylan Sampson last year, where he was just an elite rusher for Tennessee, but he's the only of those 4 years, the only time Tennessee sent a bell cow back, and guess what? They're going right back to a 3-man rotation this fall. So I just think it's just a rarity that running backs are going to get that kind of opportunity to put up the big time stats and be in those kind of offenses where they're going to be able to be Heisman winners. It's just kind of a different deal altogether. But slot guys in this era, like a Zachariah Branch or whoever, like they can feast. And there's a way, if you're a good slot guy on a great team, then you certainly have a chance. So we shall see.
Sure. And for the record, I think Noah Thomas is going to be Georgia's leading receiver this year. Like I think he's going to lead Georgia, and if not, and probably all three. I think he's going to lead in yards, touchdowns, catches. Like I think Noah Thomas is going to be the go-to guy out wide for Georgia.
On the Tennessee front here, Matt Green, there was one thing I wanted to touch on here before we dive into our CFP hot takes. And it's something that I was talking about here today on the radio show on the Chase Fox Sports Knoxville 105.7 FM, 1340 AM, from 1 to 3 Eastern time, Monday through Friday. I was talking about this preseason rankings that came out on August 19th, 2025 preseason coaches all SEC football team announced. Tennessee has one player who made the first team there, and the coaches put this out, right? And Jermod McCoy was the lone Tennessee player to make the first team. No second team. Tennessee has a bunch of third team guys, and some of the third team guys that made it: Chris Brazzell, wide receiver; Miles Kitselman, tight end; left tackle Lance Hurd; linebacker Arion Carter; and then defensive back / star Boo Carter. So a lot of guys still on the list. And for your reference, for Georgia on the third team, I see Ernest Green made the cut, Zachariah Branch, and then Nate Frazier are on the third team. And then for Georgia, no second teamer. Oh, one second teamer, Oscar Delp. And then first team Georgia players, they have Christian Miller, CJ Allen, KJ Bolden, and Dalen Everett on the first team, along with both. You know, it's kind of crazy. Georgia has both special team spots, Peyton Woodring and Brett Thorson. So
and Zachariah Branch is the return guy on that team, right?
Yeah. So special teams could be special, for lack of a better word, in Athens this fall.
Yeah, I saw 7-8 first teamers, and I was like, wait, what? And then it's like, oh, 3 of them are the kicker, punter, and the return man. It's like, that's cool, but I don't know. It hits a little different.
Still matters in the sport. Special teams can swing games.
Does.
Tennessee doesn't beat Texas A&M at home in 2023 without D. Williams making plays on special teams. So the thing I wanted to mention here is, I think something that I think people have to kind of think about when it comes to Tennessee this fall. And I'm still like Tennessee. We talked last week about Tennessee getting put at number 4, higher S&P plus projection defensively than Georgia. At number 5, Tennessee number 4, and ESPN Bill Connolly's final S&P plus model. So the numbers really like Tennessee's defense to be elite once again, and even be better than what we saw last year. What I think is going to be hard, and what I'm very curious about, is what you notice there is Rodney Garner and Coach Chop do not have any player on the defensive line, that includes edge, that is in that first, second, third team. And I think most years, especially before this year, defensive line has been the strength for Tennessee's defense. But I think when you graduate a first rounder and a second rounder and James Pierce and Omar Lott, it kind of is a gap here on the defensive line where Tennessee's got a bunch of 4 and 5 stars behind the guys that are starting this year. Dominic Bailey at strong side defensive end, Jackson Moy, transfer from Stanford, who's in his second year, Bryson Eason, longtime guy in the interior. He's back for his 6th year. And then at Leo, Joshua Josephs, who's in year 4. But none of those guys profile as first, second round guys. They're not preseason coaches, watch list guys. They're all good players, great leaders, but they're all like B plus, A minus guys at best. And the guys behind them are not ready to be like the first team SEC preseason coaches list. Now, if you were to tell me they're there in 26 or 27, would not be surprised. And that includes the Jordan Ross, 5-star edge from Vestavia Hills, who's in his 2nd season. Caleb Herring, 4-star edge, who's in his 3rd year. Number 1 player in the state of Tennessee a couple cycles ago. You have 5-star Isaiah Campbell in the interior. You have high 4-star Marion Dye at strong side defensive end. Like, they have a plethora of 4 and 5-star freshmen and sophomores right now. But those guys aren't starting. And I think that's one of the things that I think is going to be super interesting about Tennessee this year is last year they didn't blitz a lot. They didn't blitz against Georgia, and it came back to bite them in the butt. And Carson Beck did not get put on the ground once in his 40 dropbacks against the Vols in Athens. Tennessee thought they could get home with 4, didn't work. So I think what's going to happen this year anyway is that you don't have a James Pierce on the edge who can, or Omar Lott in the interior who just disrupts stuff and can get home. And you can get home and affect the quarterback with 4 and play a lot more coverage in the back end. This year, you're not going to be able to do that because teams will dice you up because you're not going to get home as much with this group. And I think they're going to have to be creative. And Tim Banks is one of the elite top 10 defensive coordinators in the sport, so I know he will. But I do think it's something to monitor, especially early on, is they lost their 5-star defensive tackle here for first couple weeks of the season in Daevin Hobbs. And he was going to be right there behind Jackson Moy and Bryson Eason as that 3rd defensive tackle in the interior. Now, I'm curious if he's back for the Georgia game because they are going to very much need him against Georgia. My thing is, I just think it's interesting is that Tennessee's got a lot of bright spots. I think cornerback, they're going to be really, really strong. I think the secondary is going to be really good again. I think linebacker has a chance to be really good, but they're young. I think defensive line is just such a weird anomaly, and they're kind of thin on the interior, and I just don't love the starting group. I think they're good. They're just not great. And I wonder how Banks and Rodney Garner balance this and what kind of different packages they throw out and how aggressive they are. Because if you remember, first 2 years, they didn't have the personnel, so they blitzed a crap ton. Like, they were sending Jeremy Banks and Aaron Beasley at linebacker all the time. Like, that's why they gave up big plays a whole lot more those first couple of years, is they were blitzing a whole lot more than they're blitzing now. I think you're going to have to find a middle ground where you're not going to be able to live the way they did last year and be able to play a base defense and be able to keep things in front of you to the extent that they were and get home a couple times a game. I'm very curious what this all means because there's not a first round, second round guy on this defensive line, but there's still a lot of optimism that Tennessee's going to have a top 5 defense in the sport. And I'm like, if you're going to have a top 5 defense, some of these defensive linemen, especially the young guys, are going to have to pop and kind of come out of nowhere this year. Several of these guys are going to have to take a step because you can't be a top 5 defense if you don't have any of your defensive linemen crack these first, second team, third team, all SEC lists. You know what I mean? So I just think it's something to monitor this year is like who breaks out. They have the talent, but going into the year, a lot of unproven defensive linemen on this Tennessee roster.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. It feels like Tennessee fans aren't that concerned about losing James Pierce, which is interesting to me. Like, would you agree with that?
I think they're not as, I would say he had a down year, but again, I think it was just more of, there was a year of film on James Pierce, and he also didn't have Tyler Barron. Like, Tennessee's defensive line did not have as much juice on the opposite side of him as he did 2 years ago. So he did take a little bit of a step back, but I mean, James Pierce is really good. And I do think people who are just like, yeah, it's fine. We'll be fine without Pierce. I'm like, I would take Pierce for one more year, especially if it's Pierce versus Josephs. I would take Pierce for one more year. But Josephs, I mean, he had 2 sacks last year. Like Josephs has not shown he's going to be a high sack guy. He's a good player. Like PFF actually, I think had him as the highest graded defensive player for Tennessee last year. Good player, but he's like he doesn't do anything at elite level. You know what I mean? I guess maybe run defense a little bit, but if he's going to get a bunch of snaps at Leo, he's going to have to get home. Like he's going to have to sack the court. Those sack numbers are going to have to increase in his final year on Rocky Top. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's interesting. It's just kind of interesting opinions. I feel like James Pierce kind of coming after this out of this last year. You know, being kind of projected maybe the number 1 overall pick, and then people were kind of talking about the Falcons like they reached on him late in the first round. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I have no idea. I think it will be very interesting to see how it all unfolds. But I'm not in the business of doubting Rodney Garner, but I do have questions about how this rotation is going to ultimately look. And they just quietly, I'm not saying desperately, it's quietly need Jordan Ross or Caleb Herring to have a breakout year at Leo. I think that's just one of those things that if you're outside of the Tennessee sphere, it's not really on your radar. I think on the day-to-day here in Knoxville, it's just like, hey, one of these 4-star, 5-star guys who are going to play a lot of snaps need to have a James Pierce like breakout. And it's possible. It just has to happen if you're going to have a top 5 defense.
Yeah, I can't say a bad thing about Rodney Garner.
No. College football hot takes, Matt Green. This is gonna be fun going back and forth in our pick'em here in terms of what we think is going to happen this college football season, and then we will dive into our CFP national champion predictions along with our week 0 pick between Iowa State and Kansas State to kick things off. Matt Green, would you like to go first here in your preseason hot take, your final college football preseason hot take before the season gets started?
So let's start it off with We'll duel this one out. This first one. So every year there's a preseason team that top 10 team that finishes unranked. It seems like you go back to last year, Michigan and Florida State both finished unranked. USC the year before that, Baylor and Texas A&M. I think the year before that, I can't remember what Utah did in 2022. I saw some stat about A&M, like it was like the highest ranked team to finish unranked of like the last like decade. And I think A&M was the team like 3 or 4 times. Like they've been up there consistently. So this year, of all of the preseason top 10, that's team that's going to finish unranked, my answer is LSU. I think LSU, I don't know. I feel like they have bust written all over them personally.
You know, it's funny. I'm looking at this list and it's hard for me. I don't know if it was this hard last year, but Texas, I can't see it. Penn State, certainly not. Ohio State, certainly not. Georgia, certainly not. Notre Dame, Oregon, certainly not. Alabama, certainly not. LSU, I'm right there with you. Miami could see it. Clemson, man, still really, really hard for me to see a season where they finish unranked with what they've got. They'd have to have a real season from you know what and just get ravaged by injuries. I'm with you. I think LSU is probably the best one. Can I say, though, the juiciest is Notre Dame? Because you're starting a redshirt freshman CJ Carr. If that doesn't go well, if they miss at quarterback here by not going in the portal and trusting their in-house evaluation with, I think his Lloyd Carr's grandson is who I think CJ Carr is.
Right?
So, yeah, I believe so. So, I don't know. I think if they miss and whiff at quarterback and that's a dumpster fire, like we've seen some bad Notre Dame teams where like what was the kid who played lacrosse and back and forth and what was his name? He transferred a couple times. He was at
Alabama.
Yeah, what was his name?
What was that guy's name?
Tyler Buckner.
There you go. What a pull.
And they've missed. So they could miss here. And if they miss at quarterback, there's a scenario where Notre Dame finishes like 8-4, 7-5 type of deal with their schedule and all that. But I mean, I just love their run game. Jeremiah Love is probably like the best running back Heisman potential guy going into the year. So I don't know. I think Marcus Freeman's kind of raised the bar. This is a team, though, that did lose to Northern Illinois at home. They open at Miami, A&M at home, at Arkansas, USC at home, but USC's going to be better, and USC pushed them last year. I mean, they even get Boise, where if Boise's really good, could Boise be a team that walks into South Bend unafraid and pulls the upset. I don't know. I mean, at Pitt.
Wow, when is that? Notre Dame, Boise State? I don't think I realized that. We never did a Notre Dame preview because they're not a conference. I guess that's why.
We did miss Notre Dame. That was a huge omission on our part. But yeah, it just completely forgot because they don't have a conference. They don't have a home. That's our bad. But yeah, so they have Boise. The schedule's not crazy bad, but I could see 9-3 here, but that still I think they'd be ranked. So I don't know. A lot would have to go wrong for Notre Dame to finish unranked. So I think by process of elimination, I think Miami's my pick of the 10 because you could really see a scenario where Carson Beck's not 100% and the team just implodes. Mario Cristobal has some bad late game management and Miami quits in the middle of the year or something. If they have a couple bad, like if Florida drubs them early or, I could see a scenario where Miami is not this like, hey, if they are tested here early and they get down in the hole here, like they drop the Notre Dame game and then they drop the Florida game, both at home, they go to Florida State, they could drop that one potentially. And then the season gets, then you get Louisville right after. This season can get away from them. They still have to go to SMU. You have to go to Pitt late in the year, late November. It's going to be a cold weather game there. I think Miami's the pick for me of the 10, but I think it's hard. You can see a lot of these top 10 teams finish ranked here. So this is a hard one.
Yeah, I'm with you. They're basically almost all of these were in my actual playoff. But yeah, I feel like Oregon is one that I feel like could be a dud this year, but also like we don't know what to expect from Dante Moore and all that. And they lost a lot from a year ago, but also I don't necessarily think they have the schedule that would expose them enough to lose more than like 3 games or so. So I'm not picking that to happen. But also Alabama. Alabama, I'd just be shocked if they finish unranked, but I think they were my pick in this a year ago, to be honest. I think I was banging the drum for 8-4 Alabama or something, which wasn't totally off, and they probably still would be ranked at 8-4. But yeah, Alabama, I don't know. Maybe Ty Simpson is not the guy. Maybe, it's clear Kalen DeBoer isn't Nick Saban. I don't know, but I'm not picking it to happen. But LSU just feels like the most volatile. And yeah, Miami, I'm with you. Miami probably being that other candidate.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard, but yeah, Miami's probably the best. Oregon just feels safe to me. Like Lanning's got that thing to a point where even with Dante Moore, they'll just go to Novastad, right? Like they feel almost bust proof. Like they kind of are at that Georgia level, the Dan Lanning, Kirby Smart crossover, where I just think they have such a safe floor that even if they get quarterback wrong, I just see like maybe 9-3 potentially, but
I don't know, man. Georgia's got at Tennessee, at Auburn, cocktail party, Alabama and Texas at home. Ole Miss, who blasted them last year. Georgia could go 6-6 this year. Maybe even miss a bowl game. I'm not even sure.
Do you feel good about yourself throwing that out there for
7-5? Someone said it. No, Georgia's schedule is tough, and this is like the most. I'm not expecting. I would still be shocked if Georgia finished unranked. But if you're talking top 10 teams, they have to be one of the higher percentage ones in just probability, because how many top 15 opponents are they going to play this year? Like if Auburn and like Knoxville, the third week of the season, like if Georgia loses that one, like all of a sudden the season could look very different, because I think Tennessee could be the 5th best team Georgia plays next year.
Oh, I guess this kind of qualifies as a hot take. I'll throw this out.
Okay.
If Georgia loses to Tennessee in week 3, they do not make the playoff. Lock it in. Georgia will miss the college ball playoff if they lose at Tennessee.
Yeah, I would have told you 6 months ago that was the number one game I was the most worried about on Georgia's schedule, just because of the uncertainty of this team and how early where that game sits is like kind of being Gunner's like first real start of the season. Without Nico, I feel a little bit differently. So if they lose, so I would have said, yeah, you could have gone 11-1 and lose in Knoxville. But now if you lose in Knoxville, I feel a whole lot different about that Alabama game 2 weeks after.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I'm going to throw this one out for you, Matt Green.
Okay.
The Big Ten will not win 3 straight college football playoff national titles. I feel pretty confident in this one. And I've been very bullish on Penn State this entire offseason because I should. Penn State's got the best roster, best coordinator combination. If not now, then I don't know when it's going to be for James Franklin, but I'm not predicting James Franklin to win the national title. I'm not predicting Penn State to do this and run the gauntlet and get through everything they need to get through with Drew Aller and company. I'm not the biggest Drew Aller guy, and we'll see if he ultimately proves to be the guy who gets him across the finish line here. But I don't think Penn State is going to keep that streak going, and I think they're the best team in the Big Ten this year. So I think it's going to be somebody else in the Big Ten or somebody else outside of the Big Ten that we'll get to the end of today's show. But yeah, I don't think that streak continues. Paul Feinbaum will be able to breathe easy because I don't think the streak continues, and you don't have to worry about the Big Ten celebrating 3 straight years.
I mean, I think maybe the rest of college football misinterpreted the SEC, like pounding their chest about all the national championships. Like that was kind of the cherry on top, but like that wasn't the only reason the SEC was the best conference all of those years, because they had the national champion. Like it's a depth thing. So I personally don't get caught up on, oh, the Big Ten won the championship, so they're the best conference this year. Like that's not what it means. Oh, Ohio State beat an two SEC teams, so obviously that means the Big Ten's better. Like I can't go with that. No, I don't hate that take at all. I'll stay on the same kind of topic.
Oh, can I throw out though?
Go ahead.
The other part of it, real quick, because I just think Ohio State's gonna have a down year. I think 9-3 is absolutely on the table with their schedule. I think Michigan is very volatile. And I think people are just like, oh, yeah, last year was a little bit of a blip. And I'm like, you're going to start a true freshman quarterback this year. And they don't have a lot of proven playmakers out wide. Their 5-star tackle just, I think, tore his ACL in fall camp here in the past week. I don't think they have the same juice that they had, especially not 2 years ago. I don't see it. I think Michigan's like an 8-4 team, somewhere around there. And then you look around, you're like, Oregon, like we talked about, huge, like it's a big guess on Dante Moore, but I mean, see it to believe it. It seems like they're in step back mode a little bit. I just think the top of the Big Ten is going to be a lot less scary than it has been the last couple of years. And I think that's not great timing for the Big Ten commissioner, Pertiti, because they're going to flex their chest out this fall. And I don't think you're going to have the horses that you've had the last couple of years, because I think it's been worth it. Like I think the Oregons, the Ohio States, the Michigans over the last couple of years have been stronger. Like I have argued that the top of the Big Ten has been stronger than the top of the SEC. Now, what you're talking about, just the depth below that, I would still take the SEC over the Big Ten, but I think they do have a strong case that the top of the Big Ten has been better than the top of the SEC, especially was last year, I would say.
How deep are we going? Like bottom 2, like top 2, like
top
I don't
4.
know.
I'd probably say somewhere top 4.
Yeah, maybe.
But either way, I don't think you're going to have that this year. I think the depth of the Big Ten is a lot worse this year, and I think it's a much weaker conference this year. And I think the SEC has more firepower at the top and has a much better opportunity of winning the national championship this year with their top teams than I think the Big Ten does.
Well, that's a good segue into my hot take. So
okay.
I'll keep it on this topic. More Big Ten teams will make the college football playoff than SEC teams again this year.
So you saying 5?
Because I think it's a weaker conference. No, I think it's 4 Big Ten teams again and 3 SEC teams again.
You think only 3 SEC teams get in?
I do. I mean, last year you had 4 9-3 SEC teams a year ago. I think there's going to be more this year. Like, I just think there's going to be so many 9-3 teams. Like, and I think I even went under the 8.5 on LSU. So they could be an 8-win or 9-win team. But I think you look at, whether it's, Georgia 9-3 is not off the table for Georgia, but I personally have Texas and Georgia winning double-digit games. But after that, it could be Alabama, it could be LSU, it could be Oklahoma, it could be Florida, it could be Tennessee, it could be Texas A&M. Like there's so many, South Carolina, like there's so many SEC teams, Ole Miss, Missouri, like there's so many teams that could finish 9-3 in this conference this year, and depending on which one has, like, Missouri 9-3, no chance of making the playoffs. Florida 9-3, like it could be likely, So it's going to be interesting, and I'm still not sold on how the committee's gonna evaluate the strength of schedule. Like, you've heard a lot of people say Florida 9-3 this year makes the playoffs. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. Florida 9-3 is a significantly better team than Illinois if they go 11-1, but Illinois will be 11-1. Or 10-2. And I have a hard time seeing the committee putting them ahead, because Illinois, if that's a hot take, they are one of my playoff teams, because I think it's going to be an Indiana situation of the Big Ten, them having one of the weaker schedules in the Big Ten, and them being a solid team. They went 10-3 a year ago, but having one of the weaker teams, there's going to be a team, an SMU or an Indiana type of team that gets in based on an 11-1 record that no one really thinks is that good.
I get what you're saying. I just think we have to. I think the College Football Playoff Committee should come out now, Matt Green, and we should all agree as college football ball knowers. If Florida goes 9-3 or Oklahoma goes 9-3, they are automatically penciled in no matter what in the college football playoff with their schedule. I think that should be, if they don't get in at 9-3 with their schedule this year, if either of them make it to that, the system is broken, because that 9-3 is 11-1 in the Big Ten. It's a 12-0 maybe in the Big 12. It's one of those where, man, if Florida can pull that off or Oklahoma can pull it off, that has to be the fourth team getting in at 9-3. I would even put 9-3 Florida over a 10-2 Mizzou. And I wonder if the committee would do that, but I don't know.
It just all depends, man. I mean, you have like 4 11-1 Big Ten teams or something, or you got 2 undefeated Big 12 teams, 2 undefeated ACC teams. Like, I could definitely see Miami and Clemson both having 1 loss or less in the conference championship, and the losers in regardless. Like, I don't know. It all depends on how other conferences shake out. Notre Dame and Boise State, or Notre Dame and whoever the G5 is.
Can we, as another part of this, on the flip side of the Florida 9-3 CFP conversation, I think we should have a rule going into next year that Indiana is not allowed in under any circumstances with what they've done with the schedule. It's like, yeah, you can play that schedule, but we're not gonna give you the benefit of the doubt here. Or you only can get in with Indiana's schedule if you finish 11-1. That's the rule. Like, we will put you in if you only have 1 Big Ten blemish with your out-of-conference schedule that you're pulling. Fine. If you go 11-1, we'll throw you in. But if you don't go 11-1, Kurt Signetti and Indiana Hoosiers, you're not allowed in. I want that to be a mandate with what they have done and what they've done to those fans. Like, when you look year over year of this non-con schedule for Indiana, it's repulsive, especially as ticket prices are going up. Everything is, you're going to do that schedule, and then the SEC part of it is so stupid that we're just an SEC schedule. It's like, come on, son. Like, that's not what's happening.
Yeah,
but
the lame
it's
part
bad faith.
Is the canceling, like the game Virginia. Like,
what are you doing?
One of the worst Power 4 teams out there, honestly. But it's like, it's one thing to not schedule those games. It's a whole other thing to cancel it. Like, and just, I think it is like 15 games over the next 5 years and not one Power 4 opponent, right?
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's terrible. And honestly, but they're not going to, knock on wood, they're not going to have the luck that they had of like legitimately playing the bottom 7 teams in the conference and Ohio State. Like, I just assume, or bottom 8 teams, however many it was. Like, I just assume that luck is not going to happen to them again. But with these huge conferences, you're going to see the disproportionate, difficulty of schedules. And I think you're going to see something like that happen again, whether it's Indiana or somebody else. Like, I think that's how SMU and Indiana both got in the playoff last year, in my opinion.
Yeah. Who do you got next?
Next, I'll keep it on the Big Ten. I think Penn State goes another year without one win that anyone respects. Like, without that one big time win. Like, maybe they get to the playoff. I think in my scenario, I have them getting to the playoff and beating. Do I have them beating Illinois? Is that right? And it's like, if they beat Illinois, you're like, okay, whatever. Like, that's fine. I think they're gonna. Last year they went 11-1, and there's this perception that it was better than all those other 10-2 years they had. And it's like, no, you just played one less big top 10 team last year, so you lost 1 game instead of 2, and then you lost in the Big Ten championship. So I don't know. And then who they beat in the playoff? SMU and Boise State. Like, I'm not buying Penn State, really. Like, so I think they could even win a playoff game, like I said, and it'll still be a hollow, like, they haven't beaten a team that has like a roster that's anywhere equivalent to theirs.
Wow. I think they get Oregon at home. I think they beat Ohio State on the road. I think the upset for them is at Iowa.
That would be pretty frustrating if you win those 2 games and then lose to Iowa.
But I still think they're 11-1. I think Penn State's going 11-1 in the regular season this year.
We'll see.
Great schedule.
I tend to think 10-2, lose to the 2 top 10 teams you play.
Next up, my surprise firing in the ACC. I think Dave Doeren gets fired after this year. It's one of those weird things. So if you recall, Matt Green, Will Wade is now the college basketball coach at NC State, formerly of McNeese State, formerly of LSU. He obviously won big at McNeese State, and he's a great recruiter. He's revitalized that program. Like NC State, a lot of juice about this NC State Wolfpack team in Raleigh and what Will Wade's assembling this year and beyond. So he's got that like kicking and screaming. Paul's got the Tigers on the move. Will Wade's got the Wolfpack on the move here. And I think Dave Doeren, who is a good college football coach, things went really bad. They've gotten transfer portal quarterback wrong the last 2 cycles with Devin Leary and Grayson McCall. But they're going with CJ Bailey, who settled in last year, but they still went 6-7 a year ago, tied for 10th in the ACC. And he's been there for a long time now. He's 87-65 as a whole. He's been there since 2013. I kind of wonder if he's already kind of peaked there a little bit. They went 9-4 in back-to-back years in 2017, 2018. He won 9 games in 23, and then in 21, he has not finished he's finished second in the ACC once since 2017. He's a good coach. Like, there is no doubt. I think Dave Doeren's a good coach, but I think with where the ACC is and with now the new television contract money and how that revenue is split, like, there's a lot of juice with Will Wade now on the basketball side of things. I just kind of wonder if they go 5-7 or 6-6 again this year, that NC State's like, hey, let's ride the wave. Let's go out and get another big name on the football side of things. UNC just hired Bill Belichick. There's a lot of juice on that front. Like, I think Duke with Manny Diaz has a lot of juice. I just think there's no real juice with Dave Doeren and company, rotating offensive coordinators now. And I don't know. I don't think they're going to be awful. I just think there's a scenario. I mean, East Carolina at home out of the gate's not great for them. And East Carolina can absolutely push them. They're going to be really good this year. The Pirates over there in Greensboro, North Carolina, they got to go to Wake, who could be feisty early. They got to go to Duke, could lose that game. At Notre Dame, Tech at home, I don't think they're going to beat. At Pittsburgh's not great. At Miami's not great. Close with UNC. I don't know. I don't love this situation for them. There's just not a lot of like. Casey Concepcion moves on to Texas A&M this offseason. I don't know. I just feel like I could see an appetite for like, hey, we're going to clear the deck here with our 2 big revenue sports, and we're going to go and see if we can get another big fish like we just did for Will Wade and basketball. So that's my bold ACC take, is that they take a shot. NC State does if Dave Doeren goes like 5-7 or 6-6, and they're like, I think we can go out and try and get a big name. I don't know who that ultimately is, but I could see it.
Okay, let me keep it on the coaching hot seat track. And this is maybe a 2-parter, and maybe take it with a grain of salt coming from a Georgia fan. Billy Napier does not make it through the year, and I think part 2 is that DJ Lagway is essentially this year's Nico Iamaleava. Like, that's not to say Nico Iamaleava was terrible last year, but the people that were acting like this is the best player in college football, they were just like, guys, pump the brakes. Maybe he will become that. He's got a lot of potential, but like, let's pump the brakes. Like, I feel like we're doing the same thing with DJ Lagway. I feel like he could be good, and I'm not just too concerned about the health. Obviously, that is a concern because that's a concern for everybody. If you're not healthy, things could change. But he's a big guy. He should be able to take hits. But I think we're just putting DJ Lagway, like, I don't know. It feels like we're going too fast with DJ Lagway and Billy Napier. Like, this schedule, people talk about this schedule and they and then forget about it, kind of thing. Like, what it like truly means. It's like when we were talking about like drops with Carson Beck last year. It's like, yeah, the drops are terrible, but you still got to be better. It's like, well, people are dropping the ball. Like, you gotta understand how this how this impacts things. Like, your schedule is like, yeah, but if they do well with this schedule, yeah, or they could not do well with this schedule, and then the sky is falling. Like, I think there's a legitimate chance this team is 2-4 after their first 6 games. Like, I'm at LSU. I think if Clemson wins that opener, which I'm kind of thinking they will, LSU having a loss already in week 3, night game in Baton Rouge, that feels like the type of junkyard dog, like back against the wall, like unwinnable game that LSU comes out and plays their best game of the entire season or something. You know what I mean? And Death Valley is absolutely rocking. Miami, same thing. Not same thing in terms of having a loss early, but in terms of Miami's fans don't get a lot of love, but like they show up for the big ones. They're kind of fair weather fans in that way. And Florida Miami week 4 is going to be a ridiculous atmosphere. Like, you look at some of those like Notre Dame Miami games the last few years, like when it's a top 10 matchup, like the Miami fans show up for the big ones. Texas at Texas A&M, like having three road games like that is just insane. Like, I think Texas A&M is kind of the SEC team that's getting totally forgotten about this year. Like, because we hype them up too much every year, I think they might even be a little underrated this year. Like, this team was a win in their final game last year away from playing for the SEC championship. Like, they played with Notre Dame, who played for a national title, in the second game of the entire Mike Elko era, or was that the first game? Was that the season opener? I want to say it was week 2, but regardless, A&M absolutely blasted Florida a year ago. Now they're playing in Kyle Field. Like, Texas, Arch Manning might be the best player in the country. Texas might be the best team in the country. I think as much as we talk about Florida's schedule, I don't think we've truly thought about the fact that this team could easily have a losing record this year. And how are we going to interpret this team after that?
That's fair. That's bold. I'm not there with you, though. I think DJ Lagway is going to be really good, and I think Florida's going to be a playoff team.
I am not expecting the losing.
I don't think
record.
It's going to be a Nico situation for DJ.
You could be right, but I don't know, the Florida hype. I'm not feeling it right now.
It makes you uneasy. That's all this is. It makes you a little bit uneasy because you're like, is Lightning going to strike twice with Nico and then DJ? Are we going to keep avoiding these here in Athens? But I don't know if you're going to be able to.
No, it's not that. It's just he was good, not great as a freshman. He flashed at times. I think there's just an exaggeration. We just like to anoint these 5-star quarterbacks before they ever even prove it. And if that the 2023 class of 5-star quarterbacks, it's like that one should show us right there. Like, is that Jackson Arnold? I want to say 2023, and it's like there's 5 or 6 5-stars in that class, and I think none of them have panned out to this point. Nico is probably the best one, I think, from that group.
There's one quarter. Dante Moore is in that class. Malachi Nelson, who's now at UTEP. There was
third school in 3 years.
Arch is in that class though, so I would say I think there's a good chance Arch is going to work out to some degree.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe. And that's
Jaden Rashado is in this class. Avery Johnson, number 9. I would say he's probably worked out. Eli Holstein quietly has worked out at Pittsburgh, former Alabama kid. But yeah, outside of that, Dylan Lonergan going to start for Boston College. Sam Levitt, 18th in this class. Marcel Reed, 20th. The back end of the class is having better success as a whole.
But yeah, like these 5-star quarterbacks just do not pan out, I think, as often as people think. Like, you look at the 2022 class, that's probably one of the better ones. Drew Aller, Cade Klubnik. You still got Connor Wegman and Ty Simpson in there. Like, people think Ty Simpson's going to be good, but he could easily not be. The Jalen Hurts, was it Blake Barnett? Was that who was the starter the first game with when Jalen Hurts his freshman year? Like, I feel like there could be a possibility of that Ty Simpson's just not as good as people thought he was. He could also be very good, but I don't know. It's all interesting to me how 5-star quarterbacks are perceived.
That's fair. I'm going to throw this one out. Field over Boise making the GFP CFP spot. I'm taking the field. I think I've seen a lot of people just
Ooh.
pencil in Boise State here. And I'm like, I don't think it's going to be Boise back-to-back. I think it's just very hard for these G5 teams to keep it together in this era of college football. I don't think it's going to be Boise. I think Boise's going to have a good year. I'm not picking Boise to run it back and just get the G5 spot in back-to-back seasons. So I'm going to go against the grain there and say it's Memphis is my favorite to get that spot with Ryan Silverfield and company.
Memphis, okay.
Great schedule for Memphis.
Yeah, they're the top next G5 receiving votes in the AP poll right now. Army right behind them, Tulane, who else? Navy, UNLV, Buffalo. I don't know. Buffalo got 1 vote.
Buffalo's gonna be good in the MAC. I think they could win close to 10 games this year. But Memphis' schedule, they get Arkansas at home, they get South Florida at home, they get Tulane at home, and they get Navy at home. There's not really a big scary game on the schedule, especially on the road. I think they're going to be really good. They get the Nevada quarterback in there as quarterback 1, return a lot of talent. Silverfield has quietly won a whole heck of a lot of games last couple of years. They went into the Doak last year and won against Florida State. But yeah, spending FedEx money. I think it's Memphis in the G5 this year. I love this schedule. This is a if not now, then when. And they kind of need it, trying to get into the Big 12 and the ACC and everything. A Memphis playoff spot would look really good potentially to those conferences that have said no to Memphis thus far. So I'm going to go Memphis.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Arkansas is definitely a vulnerable Power 4 team to get, and you get them at home too.
Yeah. I like it for them. And that's the one that they could use to say that we belong in the CFP. Beat an SEC team.
1-0 is the SEC. What more do you want?
Yeah. They supposed to be SEC. An all-time great. What do you got next?
This is an interesting one, kind of out of left field here. I just said it the other day on the show, so I figured I'd make that one of my hot takes. I think at the end of the 2025 season, we will all kind of be in agreement that Cam Coleman is better than Ryan Williams.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
definitely better if he's making it work with his quarterback play. I think there's no contest, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not ready to say anything about either of these guys' quarterbacks. Like, who knows what could possibly happen? And, I'm not going to act like Ryan Williams, not only was he a freshman, but he's a dude who should have been a senior in high school. I'm not going to act like he was a finished product last year by any means, but he kind of came on the scene, had the huge game, Western Kentucky, 2 catches or 139 yards and 2 touchdowns. Had the huge game against Georgia, 6 for 177. And then he had that one amazing play against Vanderbilt where he just looked like he was defying gravity, where he's over on the sideline and spun in the air. It was just insane. But he had 3 for 82. He had that 1 touchdown, but that's really the one play made in the Vanderbilt game. The rest of the season, he had 2 touchdowns in the last, 7-8 games of the season. Doesn't have a game over 75 yards. Well, he had 8 for 73 against Tennessee. That's his best game of the rest of the year. It's 4 for 32 for South Carolina. It's 4 for 53 versus Missouri. 2 for 29 versus LSU. 2 for 27 versus Oklahoma. 3 for 53 versus Auburn. 3 for 8 versus Michigan. There's a lot of games where he was kind of kept in check. Maybe you want to blame all of that on Jalen Milroe, and it's possible it's the quarterback play. But I think Cam Coleman was just getting such worse quarterback play last year. People kind of forget about the other 5-star receiver in that 2024 class. Jeremiah Smith is, one of the best we've ever seen. Ryan Williams is great, but Cam Coleman is right there, if not better than Ryan Williams.
I don't hate this. Cam Coleman, his last 3 games, it's kind of the opposite of what you said with Ryan Williams. Ryan Williams started off hot. Cam's last 3 games, 8 receptions, 100 yards, 3 TDs against UL Monroe, Texas A&M, 7 receptions, 128 yards, 3 was his longest, 2 TDs. And then against Bama, 7 receptions, 78 yards, 1 TD. So he had 6 touchdowns in his final 3 games.
Yeah, and they were like ranked just about the same coming out of high school. Like if we care about recruiting rankings, he may have been ranked higher just because Ryan Williams reclassified.
I believe he was higher. I think Cam was 2, Ryan was 3, Jeremiah was 1, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so don't sleep on Cam Coleman for sure. It maybe Jackson Arnold is what derails Auburn, but maybe that passing game is really explosive with Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton.
Here's one. I think UNC's ESPN coverage and college football coverage this season is going to remind us all of Colorado's year 1 coverage under Deion and company, where no one can have a normal conversation surrounding Deion or Colorado and everything else. Everything's just got to be loud and a hot take, and it's just like, this is either the worst thing for the sport or the best thing for the sport, or Colorado's awesome or Colorado's the worst. And it was just, no one was having a nuanced conversation that first year of Colorado. Like there was not a college football conversation you wanted to have less than Colorado, because you're just like, we're not having a rational one. Like this is just, there's no way like there's any kind of nuance here. I think that's what's going to happen with UNC. I think UNC, if they beat TCU, everyone's like, see, how are you doubting Bill Belichick? He walks right in here.
Greatest of all time.
Yeah,
Can't coach college football.
Yes. And then their schedule is the worst in the ACC. So if they go like 8-4, 9-3, they're like, Bill Belichick does it again. Look at him. Look out for the Tar Heels. Should the Tar Heels be in the CFP at the, like, we're going to have UNC as a playoff team conversation, like in week 3, like right after beating TCU. It's like, could UNC challenge Clemson atop of the ACC this season? I think there is going to be such a overflow of resentment to the coverage of North Carolina and Bill Belichick this year that I think it's going to remind us all of what that was like the first year of Deion. And again, it's not Deion or Colorado's fault, and I'm not blaming them for it. I'm just saying the conversation around them was toxic and just the discourse was terrible. And I think we're going to have that crazy discourse all over again with North Carolina and Bill Belichick.
That's awesome. Also, they have TCU at Charlotte, Richmond, and then at UCF. I wouldn't be surprised if they start 4-0 and then the news breaks that they're joining the SEC. Like they're gonna just play their hand while it's the hottest as possible.
They're gonna go out and they're just like, I just can't wait for the conversation. We're like, oh, UNC, they went out. Scott Frost, national champion head coach, went into Orlando, big dub for the Tar Heels here. And I mean, that Clemson North Carolina game on October 4th could be really fascinating, because UNC really could be undefeated going into that game. And I don't know. I just think the conversation is going to be very, very exhausting. We're like, yeah, I don't think Gio Lopez in North Carolina is making a run here in the CFP, but I could be wrong.
I respect that. Did you know UCF Stadium is actually called the Bounce House?
Like legally?
Bounce House. Like it's not called something stadium and they call it the Bounce House. It's Acrisure Bounce House, Orlando, Florida.
Interesting. Well, I've moved on from UCF ever since they dropped the Black Knights. They're just the Knights now. Or the Golden Knights. Weren't they the Golden Knights?
No, it says UCF Knights.
Yeah, they got rid of the Golden Knights. And they still have the Golden Knight.
You're right. They were the Black Knight. You didn't care that much. You thought they were the Black Knights.
No, it's the Golden Knights. I'm looking at it right now. They were the Golden Knights. Army's the Black Knights.
You were so mad about it. You didn't even know what their mascot was.
Oh, quick hot take. Would you rather our alma mater be the Hawks or the Nighthawks?
I guess Nighthawks, because that's what they are. I don't know. I don't have much of an opinion.
I'd probably go just Hawks.
Just
have
Hawks?
a rival, Georgia Southern, like the Eagles, the Hawks. We already say Hawk 'em anyway.
You got the Owls at Kennesaw State.
Yeah, I would just do Hawks.
Yeah, I don't know.
They haven't asked me.
Well, who's the big the rival is Young Harris. The Battle of Blood Mountain. What is they're like some kind of cougars or something? I think it's some kind of cat.
That's a good question. Young Harris. Let's see. Mountain Lions.
Mountain Lions. Okay. Battle of Blood Mountain. Big time rivalry, as every UNG student knows.
There you go. I feel like that's not. I think Kennesaw is the new rival with how UNG's cooking. Kennesaw is the new rival.
I mean, UNG doesn't have a football team. I don't think they can be on Kennesaw's level, really.
They haven't handed us the keys yet. Once they hand us the keys,
still unbeaten.
Still unbeaten. What do you got next, Matt Green?
I want you to go next because I only got
Okay.
one more on my list, and it kind of plays in the coaching one like you have.
Oklahoma is going to be the biggest bust in college football this year.
Ooh.
I think everyone gets fired at Oklahoma this year. I think this all blows up at Oklahoma. I don't think this is going to work. I think this whole John Mateer stuff, I've made it very known how I feel about the difference between the Cam Ward conversation and John Mateer. It's disrespectful to Cam Ward and what he actually did 2 years ago at Wazoo with how we talk about John Mateer. It drives me nuts having those two different conversations. But I also think the Oklahoma offensive line is going to be bad. I think they're going to start a true freshman, 5-star left tackle. The offensive line I don't love it. I don't love the receivers. Like, you still lost Nick Anderson to come in. Like, yeah, they had injuries last year, but Deion Burks, you're counting on to be healthy for a full year. I don't know if I necessarily see that. Jade Knott was not good last year at Cal. Everyone just remembers Jade Knott 2 years ago, but last year he averaged 3.3 yards per carry. It wasn't a great year at all. He was a 1,000-yard rusher 2 years ago, but I don't know. We'll see if he's able to get back to that form. But
I have seen the guys, the Rocket Sanders of the world, go a couple of years between good seasons.
Maybe. I just don't see it. The schedule's obviously horrific for them. The second half of the schedule is horrific. I think there is so much just like John Mateer Heisman buzz, Oklahoma CFP buzz. I don't see it at all. I think they go 5-7, maybe 6-6, and they clean house this offseason. I think they're going to be the biggest bust in college football this season.
Wow, that's a hot take right there. 6-6 and Venables is definitely fired.
I think they're losing to Michigan in week 2.
You think so? See, I don't know what to expect of Michigan yet. And the fact that it's in Norman, I don't know. I think they're definitely one of those teams that I really wouldn't be surprised if they go 10-2 or if they go, like you said, 5-7. Like all of those are on the table for them. So yeah, that's a hot take for sure.
Okay. Where are we going next?
Okay, you're not gonna like this one, sir. I think Brian Kelly and Josh Heupel will be the hottest seats of any SEC coaches going into 2026. What do you think about that?
I mean, that's just silly. I gotta understand, like, the Heupel part of this. Kelly, I'm right there with you. What if you're gonna throw Heupel on one of the hottest seats in the SEC in 26? You better be talking like 5-7 or worse, because there's no hot seat unless we're talking losing season or worse.
But the schedule has been talked about a lot. You think this team goes 7-5 and there's not like a lot of
hot seat talk? Frustration, absolutely. Where guys under him might lose his job, particularly on offense. Yeah, I could see that if he goes 7-5 and the offense stinks. But no, not hot seat. I mean, Faison Brandon's coming in here next year. You got,
but that's what I'm saying. Like, he's got 2025. Like, it's like, hey, whatever happened with Nico, like, it's still program's a lot better than it once was. We're not firing Heupel or anything, whatever. But 2026, maybe the hottest seat isn't the right word, but like the coach is under the most pressure, and maybe all of college football, like, because especially if Heupel's coming off a third straight year where the offense wasn't good. Like, the offense is your jam, man. Like, what's going on here? The defense has been good enough for us to be winning a national championship if your offense is doing what it's supposed to do. So I think if the offense isn't good, it's an optics thing too. Their schedule is just not set up. It's just not a great schedule this year, or shoot, it's not a very difficult schedule this year for SEC terms. So if they lose those big 3 games to Georgia, Alabama, and Florida, I don't think that's a big deal. But then you just have to think about if they were to lose 2 more games, that completely changes the entire tone, because who are those 2 games? Do they lose to Oklahoma? Do they lose to Mississippi State? Do they lose to Kentucky or something? It's like, do they lose to Syracuse? Like, the fact that you have to find, if you found 2 more games, like if they truly go 7-5, like, it's gonna be there's 1, if not 2, really bad losses in there. And I think that changes the vibe personally. And then LSU is just kind of, maybe they're good again, but they win 8 games, and it's like, yo, what's going on? You won 10 games every year at Notre Dame. I just think he'll be under a lot of pressure, Brian Kelly. I just don't think that they're Garrett Nussmeier. I think he's good. He just does not feel like the kind of guy that gets a team over the hump. And this is no Jarrett Nussmeier catching strays over here, but he just feels like the guy who gets picked top, who's like the 8th pick of the draft, who's just like never any good. Like he has a couple years as a starter. I don't know, a Christian Ponder or something. Like he just feels like that guy, Josh Rosen, that's like, yeah, he's got all the tools to be an NFL quarterback. And I'm not like questioning his heart or anything like that. Dude go like battles every week. He just doesn't feel like the guy that's like going to break through. Like he feels like a good quarterback. I don't know. That's my take on Tennessee and LSU this year. Josh Heupel and Brian Kelly under the most pressure of anyone going into 2026.
I'm right there with you with Brian Kelly, especially if they miss the CFP. I think it's not. I would say I would redirect the pressure in the hot seat for Tennessee with the offensive personnel assistant coaches underneath Heupel. That is where the seat gets very hot. Is can you really roll back Joey Halsley as QB coach and offensive coordinator if you go 7-5 in the offense and the quarterback play is bad for a third straight year? That's where because Heupel's very loyal. Heupel's never fired anybody. Like Heupel in his coaching career has never fired anybody. So for me, that is where you could see something happen. Is if you're talking about a hot seat in terms of the people underneath him that Heupel has been very loyal to. If you go 7-5 and things go awry, you could talk me into that being a conversation going in the offseason. But I think Heupel's safe for a while. As he should be.
You're saying not this year. You're saying in 2026 the assistants potentially be on the hot seat.
No, I would say,
or you're saying a bad year this year they could lose their job. And see, I feel like if you're firing assistants this year, like that changes the pressure in 2026 for sure. Like, and I don't even know if that's a good decision to fire any assistants. If you're like, yeah, Nico pulled the rug out from under us, man. Like Aguilar kind of scrambled to find a starter or whatever. Like maybe there's a chance that Tennessee, like the bad years were just so bad that it's like, look, this is a bad year for Heupel, but like program is way better than it previously was, and we're good. Maybe that's how the rational Tennessee folks feel, but I don't know. With the Volunteers, I never know who's making the decision, the rational one or the one that's just chomping at the bit for another championship.
Okay. Final one I would say on my end. I think Mike Gundy and Kyle Whittingham walk out together after this year.
Like holding hands?
They could. They don't seem like the holding hands type, so I'll say no. But I just feel like this is just going to end very sooner rather than later with these two. They've won a whole heck of a lot. They don't have anything else to prove in the sport. It just feels like Oklahoma State, their quarterback play is going to be terrible again. I don't think they're going to be near the top of the Big 12. They were awful last year. I don't think Mike Gundy wants to like go out just multiple bad years in a row. And Oklahoma State's just fighting an uphill battle on the NIL front. And it seems like they got a lot more in order. He was talking about that.
He would be going out on multiple bad years in a row if he were to walk away this year.
Right. But I'm saying like, you don't want to keep trying. You're like, maybe next year I'll end the skid. And you're like, do you want to keep doing that year over year? And then Kyle Whittingham, where you've already got a head coach in waiting. Because this feels like a Hail Mary too, where you bring in New Mexico's offensive coordinator and Beck and then their quarterback in Dampier. If it doesn't work and you don't get back again this year, you're like, all right, again, another guy, all-time great, top 10 coach right now. It's just, what else do you have to prove? You have the head coach in waiting. So I'll say, because I think they're both going to be somewhere around 6-6, 5-7, 7-5. I think at that point, they're like, all right, it's time to hand over the keys to somebody else because I don't see a path to getting back to real national relevance. So I'll say they both walk out together after this year.
Yeah, and there's also that element of like the alma mater, like I don't know, you almost like you don't want your school to have to fire you. So like you resign this year because if it's like another bad year, then it's like Oklahoma State's gotta really seriously evaluate if they're gonna keep Gundy. That's shocking to me, the kind of the way Oklahoma State has turned the last couple of years. Also, like, shout out to Utah because Whittingham was who they've got right after Urban Meyer. And like, so they've had two coaches for the last, what is that, like 20 something years now? So that, I mean, he's been there, what is this, 21 years? This will be his 22nd year at Utah. He's done his job if he walked out this year.
There you go. All right, Matt Green. Final two things here on today's show. College football playoff national championship pick. You go first. Who do you got winning it all, and who do you have in the final two here?
I didn't like doing this, sir. I really didn't like doing it. I'm looking at, I feel like with how I've talked about Texas all season, it's like I couldn't pick Texas. Like I can't feel the way I feel about Arch Manning in Texas and pick them to win it all. It's hard not to pick Ohio State, even though there's so many question marks about them. I've talked about Clemson. Like, I feel like they're overrated. I feel like they're going to win the ACC, but I feel like they're still overrated. I had to do it, sir. This is the most toss-up year of all time. I can remember in years, and maybe it's talking seasons got me convinced, but I went with the Georgia Bulldogs, sir. The Georgia Bulldogs over the Clemson Tigers. I think Clemson's gonna be the number 1 seed in the playoffs. I think there's a chance they go undefeated this year. Beat Penn State. Texas beats Notre Dame. Georgia beats Oregon. Ohio State beats Miami in that round. Clemson beats Texas in the semis. Georgia beats Ohio State. And then I guess Georgia beats Clemson. I don't know who to pick, sir. I just Penn State and Clemson are the two teams up there that have the returning starters that like they feel good about. And I'm not really buying either of those teams. So with all these teams with first year starters, I feel like I trust Georgia's supporting cast the most. So I don't know. Maybe it's the flag back here in my background that's influencing my opinion. But I think Kirby gets it done. 3rd title in 5 years.
God help us.
Georgia Clemson for the national championship would be wild also. And I don't feel great about it, but that's how the bracket turned out. And it's all about matchups, I don't hold me to this, folks.
So I don't have either of those two teams in my national title.
Who you got?
It's been a office discussion point that a lot of folks here in Tennessee do not like that I have.
Uh-oh.
I think Alabama's winning the national title this year.
Ooh, Alabama. That might be the hottest take of any of your hot takes.
I really love this offense as a whole. I think I love the 4th-year 5-star who sat for years. Like everyone's just, if you're talking about some chip on your shoulder stuff, yeah, some of it's with Gunner for sure, but Arch sat for 2 years, and I understand the Manning name is part of it. Ty sat for 3. Ty has been waiting, and he went through a Nick Saban coaching change, and he still was like, no, I'm going to stick around and see if I can beat him out. Like Alabama went and signed a 5-star number 1 overall recruit this past cycle in Keelan Russell. He stayed. They brought in a transfer from Washington who was obviously a fit in Austin Mack that they liked back in Seattle. Stayed. Ty Simpson, who was compared to Matt Corral on 247 Sports as his player comp coming out of high school, which I thought was kind of interesting. I just think 2 years in the system, Ryan Grubb being back, Caden Proctor in a contract year at left tackle, Jeremy Bernard, Ryan Williams, Isaiah Horton, I think they are going to be a super strong team. They returned just about everybody on defense. They were quietly just like good. We talked about an Alabama preview. Like the quarterback stuff did not work. And you still look at the stats and you're like, Alabama was really good in a lot of ways last year. It just, they lost some dumb games. And obviously everyone clowned them for the Vanderbilt loss. And I understand. I just
Oklahoma
think
was honestly worse.
Kalen DeBoer, year 2, Fresno State, he went from 3 wins to 9 wins. Year 2 at Washington, he obviously wins 14 games, 1 loss, beats Dan Lanning in Oregon twice. They kept picking against him. Kalen DeBoer has now, I think, been underrated because he's following Nick Saban, because they didn't go to the playoff his first season at Alabama. He gets his guy back in Grubb that I love that. I think Kane Womack is a really good defensive coordinator. He's somewhere in the top 15. I just think Bama's the most complete team in the SEC this year. I think this is a moment for them and Kalen DeBoer to take advantage of it. And I think they're going to be the number 1 overall seed. I think they are going to win the national title. And I think they're going to beat Penn State in the ultimate Penn State James Franklin moment and beat the Nittany Lions in the national title.
Well, I assume if they get all the way to the national title, then they will have had to have beaten at least one good team. So yeah, maybe my hot take is proved wrong there. Just to run through it, this is what I have my seeds.
Yeah.
I have number 1 Clemson, 2 Georgia, 3 Ohio State, 4 Notre Dame, 5 Texas, 6 Miami, 7 Oregon, 8 Penn State, 9 Illinois, 10 Alabama, 11 Kansas State, and 12 Boise State. So those are my predictions for who makes the playoff.
There you go. And then finally, Matt Green, week 0 is here. Kansas State, Iowa State, and Ireland as we kick off our Pick'em series that will be back here this fall for another. Is this year 5, Matt Green, of us doing our Pick'em on this very program?
Oh, that's a good question. I think you're right about that. I don't have the sheet pulled up from last year. I need to get my stuff together.
I think that it is. But the Wildcats are 3-point favorites. So, yeah, you got to be ready to roll here going into next week because we're going to be tracking them. And this is our first one to kick things off. The Wildcats 3-point favorites in Ireland. Are you going Arizona or are you going Kansas State or Iowa State in Ireland on Saturday, Matt Green?
I think my college football playoff prediction may have just given this away. The 2025 Big 12 champs, Kansas State Wildcats, are going to go over to Ireland and take care of business, sir. Do we know who's got the home field advantage? Like, is there someone who's going to show out in Ireland better? Like, someone have a connection to Ireland, Kansas State or Iowa State?
It's a good question. I would say Iowa State, but I could be wrong.
Because you remember Georgia Tech had like both end zones in that Florida State game. Like that was a home game for Georgia Tech, quote unquote.
So Iowa State won the last meeting 29-21. Iowa State leads the series all time 54-50. Largest victory for Kansas State was 2002, 58-7. Kansas State actually had a win streak of 2008 to 2017. Iowa State, though, has won the last 2 in this series. They've won 4 of the last 5. I'm going to go Rocco Becht and the Iowa State Cyclones to win out of the gate here and take down the Kansas State Wildcats as the first underdog win of the season. Give me the Clones over Avery Johnson and company. I'm still not sold on Avery altogether. He had an up and down year. I don't know if I'm all the way in on the Wildcats with Avery Johnson this year. Big year for him, but I'm going to say Rocco Becht and that defense takes care of business for Iowa State. Give me Iowa State 27. Give me Kansas State 23.
I feel like all these games always seem so ugly when they're played over in Europe.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 17-13. Kansas State wins this one.
It's a good pull by you because the last 3 Kansas State victories here, 10-9, 27-17, and 2019. So when Kansas State's won of late, it's been low scoring and ugly.
Yeah, I could see it.
So there you go. Disagreeing out of the gate here, Matt Green.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, my records, my data goes back to 2021. So yeah, I think this is the 5th straight year that we've done the Pick'em. Good stuff.
I love it. It's going to be another fun year, Matt Green, with our Pick'em and 2 pods a week. But what can the good folks check out from you and the team over at Georgia Voice of College Football this week?
Yeah, so this week will be Monday, 7:00. Be previewing the Marshall game, doing the countdown to kickoff and all that, and then every Saturday at some point post game. I don't know if it's immediate post game, but at some point on Saturday, we'll be doing live instant reactions and all that. So check us out on the Georgia Voice of College Football.
There you go, Matt Green. Always a pleasure, and I'll talk to you again in a couple days.
Yes, sir.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.